Welcome to your new podcast Optimum Ideation with the host and Bridges. Idea interviews. The best of human ideation. Everyone has a superpower. But times are hot, many are in the darkness of their own mind, in need of a helping hand. Helping others to become whole.
Are sponsoring brands.
Third-party people, NFT fashion, TGC fashion, MarkPoint.
Enjoy the show.
So, welcome everybody. We are having another episode here at Optimum Ideation. And so if you haven't been introduced to our show, today is a great guest that we're going to have, and he's actually a podcast pro, and he's also developed some awesome sales tactics that are going to help solve issues for many people. And so his insights are going to be great, but we're going to get to learn a little bit more about him, and then we'll get into what he does. But our today's guest is Josh Elledge of UpMyInfluence and the host of the Thoughtful Entrepreneur podcast. So welcome, Josh.
Hey, Tim, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Yeah, I just, we usually start the show with just a few little questions here. So let me run you through the ringer. What is your story, your resume, and how did you get to here?
Well, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version of that because, like anyone that's been in business for any length of time, you probably have a lot of roller coaster tales to tell. I mean, it's just, that's why we put on our big boy, big girl pants on every day because, business can be not, business ownership, founding a company, startup, all that stuff. It's, can be not for the faint at heart. And certainly I'm no stranger to that. In fact, I, out of high school, I was in the U.S. Navy for 5 years. I was a Navy journalist, loved serving audiences, actually got mentored by Adrian Cronauer, who was portrayed by Robin Williams in the movie Good Morning Vietnam. Yeah. Now, it wasn't like a Daniel-san Miyagi kind of relationship. I mean, he came in 2 days, but I will tell you that those 2 days were transformative in my life in that, he really helped me understand that, when we leverage platform and could be writing a newspaper article back then. It could be, being on the radio, being on TV. Today it's all social, right? You take a sacred obligation. It's a sacred obligation to serve an audience in that way. And one thing that, of course, like if you know his story, he's a fan of is you need to be genuine and authentic with every person at all times. Don't ever try to fool anybody because they will know. Plus, again, if you know his story, he got in some trouble for being truthful, and eventually history vindicated him. So you'll hear me talk a little bit about that, why that's so important, because that led to a string of business failures, or, I would say they didn't last real long. Went through all the heartache associated with that. But on my seventh business venture, we did all right. And that was a company called Savings Angel. And I didn't have any money for advertising at the time, but I took my background in media and journalism, and I just took the show on the road. I said, I'm going to become a consumer expert. I'm going to serve audiences. I became known as this guy that could get you a deal hookup or upgrade on anything in life. And Savings Angel ended up becoming a six-figure a month company. So that was a good ride. And then, when, and kind of the life cycle of business, at some points, business is kind of really challenging for founders at the beginning. Then it gets even more challenging, and you kind of try to, right the ship and keep the ship steady. But then I got to a point where I'm like, I don't really need to do a whole lot work-wise. So I just started doing a lot of pro bono work in our local startup communities, working with a lot of military veteran-owned businesses, serving on boards, mentoring, pro bono workshops, that sort of thing. But that led, Tim, to folks saying, because, Savings Angel, fast forward, we ended up doing some really great business. I got to tell you, I had never spent a dime on advertising. All of that growth was organic, and it was based on my service of audiences in the media. So all told, let's see, I've been a syndicated newspaper columnist since 2009. I've been on TV here in Orlando over 800 times alone. But all told, I've been in the press over 2,500 times. So naturally, that was kind of where I started helping other new startups with and helping them get exposure that way. Led to us starting UpMyInfluence, kind of primarily as a media consultant and PR agency. But along the way, and this is really important for today's conversation, we had a major problem that a lot of consultants, coaches, agency owners, and B2B service providers have. And that is the ups and downs of, we had a really good month, and then, whoa, we didn't, like, this month sucked for cash flow. Emotionally and spiritually, that is so taxing. When you have those inconsistencies on cash flow and new business coming in. And listen, we try so many things to try to be out there and attract new business. But I got to tell you, again, Tim, for the past, say, 16 years now, I've studied and led as consumer behavior, right? Yeah. So that flavors, I would say, my empathy for audiences and, kind of that buying process. Now, if you're an agency owner, again, we'll get into this a lot in this conversation. But listen, anyone who sells higher ticket, and when I say higher ticket, I would say about $8,000, $10,000 and up, particularly if you're selling B2B, you need to set aside and cancel whatever you had going on. And you need to listen very closely to what I'm going to share with you, because by now, we shifted UpMyInfluence. Is really fascinating. There was a 5-6 month period of time. It's November 2019. So we had developed a system for attracting an unlimited number of clients and partners and just amazing people. Like, my schedule is always filled. Like, every single week I talk with 8 to 12 of my dream customers. And guess what, Tim? I don't do a shred of advertising. I'm not against it. I just don't need it. And I'm so honored and grateful. And again, it's going to come down to what I'm going to teach today. And that is about leveraging generosity, platform, and truly honoring the customer journey if you sell higher ticket to business leaders. Because I'll tell you, there's a lot of bad advice out there. The techniques that you would do to attract followers is not the same stuff that you would do to attract leaders. And I'm going to focus primarily, I'm not a guru on, how to attract followers. I'm okay at that. But I don't know that there's too many folks on the planet who have really obsessed on attraction through kind of the techniques and tactics that I'll share with you today. But that's on my influence today. I just wanted to share, there was a point in 2019 that we basically, over 4 months, we went from offering some help in and around client attraction to the point 4 months later, we stopped offering media consulting altogether. It was that significant when we started helping some clients with this. And I'm happy to share some stories too on that.
Yeah, it's such a valuable offer is what you put together. And I've really enjoyed visiting with you and talking about these things, because at the time that we met, I was just kind of breaking off and starting this podcast because I saw the value in this other way to do business with people. Yep. And so, great minds think alike. And so I'm just so grateful to be here with you to share you with my audience as well.
Well, it's an honor. It's an honor. And listen, I'm going to make sure that I give credit where credit is due. I really took principles, I think, that are out there in the ether, and some really great, I'd say, thought leaders that I follow. And so just know that I'm going to be giving you book recommendations. I'll certainly recommend tools and tactics and, techniques. But again, the most foundational thing that I want to share is, listen, to my business owner friends that are out there, and you love what you do, and you feel that that what you do is valuable. Like, you can help really, really good people with it. Like, that's what we love doing. That's why we got into business, right? So the problem I think a lot of us face now is, gosh, I'm good at what I do. I love what I do. How can I do more of that? Right. And if someone has convinced you that the way to attract and grow business is to do creepy stuff in DMs, cold email, advertising, cold calling people, basically bugging people and dealing with percentages, or outsourcing that to some lead gen company or someone that's going to be doing that slimy stuff for you.
Right.
I got to tell you right now, it doesn't work. You know it doesn't work. You probably feel out of integrity with doing that kind of activity.
Right.
And I want to let you know that if you don't want to do that, you don't need to do that. And in fact, I think you're going to enjoy life on the other side when you start leading in generosity and acting like a true professional instead of being a creeper.
Exactly, man.
And those are strong words. And I want you to know that that's not necessarily for you. I want you to know that, if you've done, kind of creepy activity, stalker activity, look, it's not your fault. Like someone convinced you that that's what you had to do. I'm here to tell you, you don't need to do that. That's not what professionals do. Professionals who have large networks, who have large ecosystems, they have a lot of friendships and connections. They don't need to do that because their authority, their influence, and their generosity, their reputation does all of the work for them. Now, you might be thinking what I'm saying and say, well, that sounds like a long-term play. It is a little bit, but I know some ways that you can get there a lot faster than the other stuff about feeling like you can't ever leave social media because you need to be out there hustling for new business constantly. No, you don't need to do that. You just need to be more attractive to people that you could truly help. And again, be thoughtful and considerate about who they are, what they want, what they don't want, what you don't want, and act accordingly.
Yeah. Very
So again,
good.
I know some of my words are a little ouchy, and I'm probably going to offend a couple people, and I apologize for that. But again, I'm sharing this emphatic experience and what I've learned out of my own failures. And so hopefully this is helpful to some good folks.
That's the point of the show, is to share these insights that we gain, and to be here in this spot with this microphone and sharing our faces. Not a lot of people are able to do that, but maybe us doing this will give someone the strength to see and the wisdom to know where they need to go with their business, and especially with today's day and age. The world has changed. The sales world has changed, and take notice of it. And I think you've built great systems to help others in this. And that's why I'm just so glad to have you here. Now, people get to where, thank you. People get to where they want to go in life because they know where they want to go in life. Where do you ultimately want to go in life?
I feel like, listen, okay, so this is a really interesting concept. And I've actually been thinking about this quite a lot. Most of the people that we work with UpMyInfluence, they're in their 30s on up. They've got some experience. Most folks that we work with have to have some pretty good authority and reputation. And they're at the level professionally where their time is pretty valuable. So, and naturally, I've been in business for quite some time. So I've actually thought about this quite a bit. And I got to tell you that I am done with this idea of putting off joy and happiness, right? I'll be happy when I have X. Right. Or, once I get this, none, then I can really relax. Right. I need to make sure that I enjoy every single day. Look, I'm all for sacrifice and, putting off some things, naturally, being thoughtful about that. But I also know the value of not burning myself out. I know the value of taking time to, we got to have stuff outside of work. We have, if we're trying to live that balanced life, I need to be 100% present when I need to be 100% present. And if I'm spreading myself too thin, I'm no good to anybody. So that means I'm doing my clients, my team, my audience a disservice when I'm all burnt out all the time. So I don't want to say I'm living my best. Well, I'm trying to, I aspire to live my best life every day. Right. But I love doing stuff like working on my herb garden and, working on plants and trees. And I love that stuff. I love working on smart home stuff. I love spending time with my wife, and, we've been married for 27 years, and my kids, and that's really what jazzes me is, and that said, I know the importance of the work that I do. So I don't take that lightly either. So does that make sense? Like, I just want to make sure, like you'd ask me, like, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? I feel like I'm happy here.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, sometimes like, when you're in grade school, it's like, 7th grade, I just can't wait to graduate middle school. High school, I'm a sophomore. I can't just wait. I want to enjoy my sophomore year. And that's where I feel like I'm at right now. I want to enjoy every day of this. Yeah. So direction wise now as a company, we have some inevitable growth trajectories that, I just have to keep showing up and, keep on doing what I do. And so that certainly, because I don't have to worry so much about the future today, that it's, like I said, might be coming from a place of privilege and comfort. And I recognize that. But I absolutely am so grateful for today.
Well, you've certainly earned it. And I know your story and I know you've earned it. So, none of this where you're at today comes without the heartache of yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
What layers did you have to reveal to become who you are now?
Yeah. So I'll tell you the biggest one for me. I come from, I'm originally from the Midwest, Wisconsin, Michigan, and definitely was raised, kind of a, poorer working class, upbringing, and so what I was taught is just work hard. And, the way to break through, big way to get out of any problem is just work harder. And there's an honesty and there's an integrity that comes from an honest day's work, right? And if you do that, then you will earn an honest day's pay kind of thing. Now I'll also say that that's a little bit, that kind of reveals my age a little bit. Like that's kind of a thing that I think us Gen Xers would hear quite a bit. Certainly that's a boomer axiom. And so what I've come to discover is that it's so much less about me putting in the time, right? But it's about, can I create it's about creation. And can I create opportunities for others? Can I create amazing opportunities for our clients? So if so, my job gets easier. If our product is really that amazing, can I make can I create the lifestyle for my team and my, our employees? Can I create an amazing lifestyle and give them, find out exactly what they want and provide that for them? Well, if I can, this is Jim Rohn, right? It's like help everyone get what they want and then you'll get what you want kind of thing. Right. But I also believe, and again, this kind of theme that I'm going to keep bringing up about thinking about others and putting others' needs first, leading and generosity. So when you truly lead in generosity and people feel it and they know it, like they know you're not fooling them. Like you're not trying to pull a fast one on them. Like they know your heart. And by the way, you cannot fool audiences today. We all know what you want. We all know what you're doing. So when we find that there's things out of integrity there, we're going to feel, we might not be able to articulate it, but we're going to feel something's off, right? So you will get to a point when you truly lead in generosity where you will not be able to outgive the market. And we see the opposite of this when we see people's behavior on social media, when they're always having to low-key sell to their family and friends on social media, like even the really personal-oriented social media platforms, and they can't stop shutting up about their product and service and, kind of glad-handing themselves and patting themselves. Listen, I'm not saying you shouldn't, talk about the good things that are going on in your life to inspire other people. But when it's just like nonstop, I think we all know someone that's like that on social media. To me, that's exhausting. To you, might be totally fine. All right. But, if you're resonating with what I'm talking about and you're saying, yeah, no, I do know when people do that. And man, I don't know that I want to be like that. Right. So again, it takes courage to take your sales hat off, put it on the table, and just start giving your full heart and giving as much value as you can at all times. But that's part of that too.
Yeah. Yeah. It comes from some heartache to get to this point, right?
Yeah. Yep.
What is the next layer for you to remove?
Yeah, so I would say operationally within our company, and again, I apologize to anyone's like, man, he keeps tiptoeing around. What does this guy even do? Like, I feel like I haven't really gotten to the meat of what I do, so I apologize if some of this is, man, he keeps kind of tiptoeing around, and I appreciate the story and stuff. So I just want to let you know I'm empathic. Like if you're listening, you're like, feels like I'm still kind of tiptoeing around maybe some core stuff, but I got to answer the questions here. So. Yeah. So the next layer for me to remove would be further delegation, right? So there's still a lot of things operationally I'm pretty involved in. I have an amazing team. Like I don't have to do a lot of back end stuff for our clients, like our client work, but I'm still really involved in sales and growth. And so I would say for the security and well-being of my company and valuation of my company, Josh needs to do less and less and less and less. And that's a very known issue right now where, slowly I'd say month by month, I keep delegating little pieces, but I still work a good 30, 40 hours a week. And if I stop that 30, 40 hours a week, I'd say, after about a month or so, we would definitely start to feel that impact. So I need to shore that up. So again, hopefully, to our, my other business leader friends here, right? You're always doing a live SWOT analysis, right? You're looking at that, you're updating, and especially that T box, right? That threat box. What are the potential threats to your business? Right. And one of the biggest threats that a lot of us face are, our own ability to show up or not show up. If your business would really stumble and, dramatically be negatively impacted, should you be laid up for a month or two, that's something that probably needs some priority.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Not a lot of people have these discussions or share this information, but it's always good to hear someone else speak on it. And, we're all thinking it. We might as well talk about it, right?
Yeah. And I, again, hopefully I just want to come across as transparent to anyone that might be watching this. Like, feel free to chime in too. Let me know where I may be wrong on this, because I fully acknowledge that, again, I'm talking from my prism or my biases. So I fully acknowledge that, there's some different points of view that you might have, and you might hear some stuff that I'm saying is like, that guy's, what is it? And again, and I'll also let you know too, I'm an acquired taste.
Me too.
Tim, listen, your folks love you. That's why they watch me. The jury's still out. So I just want to acknowledge all that while we chat.
Now, so let's discuss some of your most challenging trials and tribulations in life.
Yeah, that's fun. So listen, there's a couple of them, right? And I'd say one of the first ones was one of the businesses that I had started was believe it or not, a print newspaper for a small town that along with that was kind of like this blog and community or whatever. And that business ended up failing. And the reason that it failed was because I needed to sell ads in order to have a newspaper, right? And I was so afraid of selling ads because I felt that selling was about convincing people of stuff. And I felt so self-conscious. I believed in my product, but it's just like I was just really in my own head of self-judging myself, worried what they were going to think of me. And so I delegated that work, and I delegated it very poorly. And when it came down to it, I completely fumbled the ball over and over again with that business because of my fear and insecurity. And that continues to come up for me as it does. Listen, we've launched over 200 clients now. They're all 6, 7, 8-figure business leaders. Imposter syndrome, we all got it. We all have it. And in fact, if you don't have a little bit of imposter syndrome, I think that might start pushing you into the sociopath sphere. That dose of humility is really important because, that's what lets people know that, hey, you're like me, like you feel the same things I feel. And so, when we're constantly putting on this social media veneer and we can't be real with people about our own insecurities and fears and concerns, that's a problem. So the sales thing was definitely a big one for me. And then again, I would say today, it's really interesting. Tim, because this recently came up, where I'm working with Fabi Paolini, who's both a client, a friend, speaker at our summit. She's redoing our website, which, by the way, our website's not real great today because I started with an MVP, basically just bought a template on ThemeForest, kind of documented it up myself. So it's not a great website. So, but it's really interesting. Like when we think about like how we describe ourselves, most of the time, I don't think we're going to own who we really are. Right. And in fact, I had another really great, so I'm a podcaster myself. So I've done over 1,600 episodes recorded, and I get some really amazing guests. And oftentimes I get free therapy as a host. And then I talk with nearly every single guest on my podcast afterwards. Like we have a conversation to see how we can help each other in business. James Ibond was a really great guest. Fabi Paolini was a great guest. Jerry Foster recently, kind of this culmination, like all three of them were like, Josh, why aren't you owning this? Yeah. Why aren't you owning your experience and your authority in this space? And I'm like, well, I feel like I'm like, no, Josh, you're really not. Like, who else can do what you do? Who else on the planet has your love, your experience? And again, I'm not saying in all things. I'm referring to one very niche-y, nerdy thing in sales and marketing. Like, honestly, like it's just such a narrow lane that I play in. I do one very specific thing. But I would say, I would say what Jerry, Fabi, and James all concurred is like, dude, you need to just own that. You're the best in the world at what you do. And that's hard. That is really, really hard I think for all of us to say, are you the best in the world at what you do? Like, that's really like, that's very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. So that's another thing. So I share that both as maybe you identify with that. I struggle with that, but I'll tell you that the solution to that is that you need people from outside the bottle who can look at you. They can read the label in a way that you can't. I can't do my own sales copy. I can do everybody else's. I can, provide direction and authority and so forth. I can give them I can't do it for myself. I'm too clouded. So that's, anyway, to anyone else who struggles with that, please work hard to get experts to take a look at your stuff and give you some good counsel and advice, because it'll be worth their weight in gold. Like I just looked at a redesign and some of the copy and stuff that Fabi was coming up with. I'm like, there's no way in the world I would ever come up with that. I would never say that. Like that's, I wouldn't say it from it's not that I disagree with it. It's just, for those words to originate from my mouth, it just makes me a little uncomfortable.
Yes, man. Yeah, I completely understand. Like I can do so much for other people and other people's companies. And then whenever it comes to, just doing this piece, like you say, like, let's say a little sales copy, it's like, man, I don't want to be that, where I'm saying, hey, I've interviewed thousands of people. I've helped hundreds of people in their career. Like, it's just like these things, like, I don't want to have to like rely on like these points. I just want people to like me for who I am. And let's do business. And I can help you. And I have helped hundreds of others, so, but it's like, man, just getting to that point to like say that or do that, it's just like this layer, right? And it's like I hire so many sales coaches, consultants, and agencies, and I invest big money in the things that you might think I'm really good at, because I think it's the book Now Discover Your Strengths, right? And I think our goal is you don't want to be a jack of all trades today. I think you become pretty commonplace. Instead, obsess on and be the best in the world at just a couple of things. And again, I would tell you, Tim, I'm pretty average at a lot of stuff. I would say most, like 95% of stuff. Like I'm a high achiever in some areas, but there's just a handful of things. My herb garden, feel like I'm getting good at that. But it's taking some time. But for like Facebook ads and like, there's, I don't know that. So I don't want to know that stuff. Like I want to surround myself by smart people and just really obsessively focus on just a couple of really good things in my life. Very good. I'm going to skip a couple because I feel like we've already answered them. But let's say, who were the greatest contributors to your character? And you had mentioned one earlier, but maybe there's some others.
Yeah. So clearly my dad and mom, my dad is just, boy, did he teach me something about work ethic, and, again, just super hardworking, that stereotype I talked about, work hard, honest day's work, and, do right by people, and, just, that work ethic. What a great example to me. My mom, I would say, again, just about loving and not judging other people, also really, really important. Adrian Cronauer impacted and set my life on a trajectory on my military service in terms of like giving me my grit. So I had some chiefs that were complete a-holes, but they my company commander, Chief Zelensky, just boy, did he man, and then Petty Officer Hardoin was his name. Literally, his name was Hardoin, but he they rode me so hard, and I think as and I'm grateful for that. It sucked at the time, and I think anyone who serves in the military for any length of time. I wasn't necessarily tip of the spear, right? I was a journalist. I wasn't getting shot at, so I really admire those who truly, did the stuff. But what I will tell you is that environment is you learn the culture of there is no room for failure. There is no, oh, well, I tried, it didn't work out. You don't have that luxury. You do the mission, you accomplish it, or you die trying kind of thing, right? So kind of the stuff you might hear like David Goggins talk about, like that's just hardcore military culture right there. Even as a journalist, we had Hell Week. They intentionally sleep deprive you, and you got to work all night. There's like 2 nights where you don't go to sleep. You just have to write throughout the night kind of thing, and kind of work on stuff. But so those are probably some of the biggest, then I'm very, very grateful for, gosh, I feel like this is like the Academy Awards or something. Like, I got to thank my wife. And, but my wife is awesome. She's a family therapist. And I lucked out. She is the kind of woman who, if I end up in a wheelchair, I don't have to worry. She's going to take good care of me kind of thing. So, and I'm sure I will end up in a wheelchair at some point in my life. So, but, I got myself a good woman who's, she is just, we love deep conversations anyway. I don't want to bore anyone, blah, 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 blah.
No, it's about you, and these people, they all built you, right? And we take so much from
my
people.
Team members, my kids, friends, just, I've had great spiritual mentors that have been really good for me. Again, certainly partners that I've had to work with. So I mean, listen, we are the combined average of the 5 people we hang around with most. Our network is our net worth. And I've worked really, really, really hard to surround myself with people who are truly just better than me.
Yeah. Very good. So what's your best piece of advice for an audience that truly wants to better themselves or others in this life?
Listen, I obsessively listen to audiobooks. I obsessively get advice from people on a daily basis. I became a podcaster. I've published easily over 2,000 episodes across all the shows. And most of those episodes, it's me getting advice from people. And so, I try to remain coachable. And the moment you think you have it all figured out, I think that's a pride cometh before the fall kind of thing. So, I would say humility and a red hot burning desire to become and grow, right? To become more and to grow, and to truly identify. And this is interesting, right? This whole idea of do what you love and you'll never have to work a day in your life. I don't know that that's great advice. I think that, do what you appear to, like, you don't get tired of, and do it more than anybody, and try to find those things that, like, you just don't get bored of it. Like Atomic Habits is just, listen, if you haven't read that book and you've heard a lot of people talking about it, it's just been on your bookshelf and you haven't read, that's probably one of the best books I've read in the past 5 years, is Atomic Habits, because, becoming a champion is truly just mastering the mundane. Yeah. It really is. It's doing it bored.
But how many people don't do that, right? How many people just completely I am not doing that, right?
Yeah.
And they do not do it. They will
I mean, listen, that's the only difference between a champion weightlifter and an amateur, or someone that's rocking the dad bod, is the champion weightlifter just kept on showing up. They didn't get, they do it bored. Do it bored is probably the mantra that, like over the past year, like I used to be a really heavy dude. Like I was, for my height, I'm not a tall guy, but I was pushing 230. And, I really learned that the mastery of the mundane was how I accomplished that goal. It's you do the boring stuff day after day after day. When everyone else gets too bored and like, I'm going to do something, I'm going to switch it up. Like, no, once you find something that works, don't switch it up. Quit chasing that shiny object or that, overnight riches or that, all those promises. Listen, there are a lot of sharks out there. There are a lot of gurus out there that want to sell you fast, easy results. What I can tell you, again, from interviewing 1,600 business leaders on the podcast for The Thoughtful Entrepreneur, it's the same principle, man. They found something that worked and they just worked it. And they didn't get tired of it. You're always iteratively improving, but, saying, and always like, you get something, you're like, is it working? Well, yeah, it's kind of working. Cool. Do more of that. Yeah. But what about that shiny object over there? No, what you do. And I can't tell you like how many, I get that. I mean, I get that too. People are like, oh yeah, you should really be doing Clubhouse or whatever it is, right? It's like, that's right. I'm like, cool. So my response to that is, man, let me know how that goes. And, let's talk again in 90 days. I cannot wait to hear your results. Like I really want to see people's long-term results on stuff before, I invest too much time and effort into new things.
Right. Perfect, man. That's great advice. I think everybody can benefit from that.
Yeah. Look for those little 1% improvements every day. That's really as well. Just 1% improvements, 1% improvements, not trying to come up with that quick fix. Quick fixes and, instant easy riches and blah, blah, blah. That's, when you study we study consumer behavior as long as I have, you start to become a little jaded on a lot of that stuff too. So I apologize if I'm being a little cold on how I describe some of this stuff, but
I've tried everything in business, now in 5-year period. Well, and even before that, trying all these different factors and things and sales funnels and this and that. And it's just, you get to this point where it's like, what, the thing that I knew I needed to do from the very beginning is the thing that I should have been doing the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, but what practices or techniques make your day a success?
Yeah, here's where I want to get a little tactical with folks right now. And so I'd kind of talked about, like, if you work with higher ticket folks, then we need to have an honest conversation right now. And that is, if you think, like, let me just tell you about my own experience, right? When people try to sell at me, like, and they somehow get my personal email address, I can tell you that that's a dead letter office. It is just a hard no. I don't care what it is. There are only a few things that I will pass on to my team. Now, I have multiple email addresses and points of contact. They all go to my team. Like, to get to me personally is, your chances are it's either going to delight me or I'm just going to instantly block you and mark you as spam. And it's not your fault. Like, it is not your fault. All right. So spammy, creeper, lead gen tactics do not work. They do not work, period. Right. Yeah. Now, I'll put one caveat that stuff might work for really new individuals, maybe. Right. If you're selling to baby brand new entrepreneurs and that's how you want to grow your business, I can't really speak to that. But what I can tell you is, if you want to attract leaders, that is wildly inappropriate, that sort of behavior. And in fact, if you try to delegate that to someone who is representing your brand, you are playing with fire. And you might say, oh, well, they're not talking about my brand. They're just kind of, they're going to just basically sell me leads. Okay, no. Again, we have to be honest about this whole experience here. Okay. So again, cold calling, cold DMing, cold email, spammy advertising marketing, where clearly you're just trying to throw me into a sales funnel. Leaders know what you're doing. You're not fooling anybody, and we don't want any part of it. Nobody wants to be sold at. You don't want to be sold at, Tim. No one likes that feeling of being treated like a piece of meat, right? It's like, just having some creepy dude at the office constantly staring at your body parts. How does that make you feel? Man or woman? I wouldn't like it. I wouldn't enjoy that either, right? It's just weird. Stop doing that. Right. Yeah. And someone who convinced you to do that, again, not your fault. Right. And why it doesn't work, it's not your fault either. Marketers ruin everything. Desperate marketers in particular. Okay. So what they do is they latch onto something that works and then they ruin it. And then they decimate the crops, right? Yeah. The locusts descend and then they ruin it. And it's why LinkedIn outreach used to work really well.
Right.
No longer works.
Right.
In some cases you could probably, for a use case, I'm sure it's still wonderful. But what I find is for the people that I know really well, your agency owners, your B2B service providers, consultants and coaches, it's really hard. It is like works maybe 1/10 of as well as it used to work back in the day. So, so again, it's just kind of ruined. So you don't do that. All right. So now, how do we get the time and attention of leaders? Well, you got to do what I do. Another book, I'm going to recommend a few books, right? The gold standard, right? How to Win Friends, Influence People. So you got to be thinking like that, right? You have to think about bringing value to other people first. What do other people want? Okay. They're not there to make your job easier. They're not there to make your business a success. You're there to be in service and bring value. And based on the amount of value you bring, that's the compensation that you receive for that. Okay. And most people are not going to give you more compensation than the value you deliver. So you have to consistently over deliver on value right out of the gate. Okay. Another really great book is this one right here, Go Givers Sell More by Bob Burg. Fantastic book. Another really great book that I just came across. Man, I cannot wait to interview this guy. And it was quite accidental that I came across it. But it's How to Win Client Business When You Don't Know Where to Start. It's by Doug Fletcher. Very good. Fantastic book. So basically, what a lot of these folks are saying is that you need to be empathic to what your customer, and you got to get obsessive about your customer persona, your avatar. What do they want? What are they afraid of? What they don't want? How do they like being communicated with? If you were to reach out cold, what are they going to say no to? And what are they going to say yes to? And stop trying to say, okay, well, but it 0.0001% of the people still it will work with, so therefore I'm going to keep on doing it. You have to be honest about the collateral damage that you're causing your brand. Is it worth it? Yeah. If it's not, you might have to reconsider what you're reaching out to. Sending me a white paper, probably not going to work. Sending me a link to, join a webinar, not going to work, right? Book, trying to just immediately, I don't know who you are, but you're coming out of the blue and saying, let's have a discovery call. I don't know who you are. And that's just weird. If you do that in dating, like, I know you don't know me, but hey, I want you to meet my parents. I'm getting ready for, this sounds like a plot of a murder. Like, this is just weird. Stop doing that. Okay. So let me give you some clues. As a leader, what are the things that I respond to? Well, there's only 3, maybe some other ones in there that I can't immediately think of. But here's what if I get some kind of connection, so I respond to media requests. I'll get that to my team and they'll get that taken care of for me. Speaking invites, my team, again, will evaluate that. And, if it's appropriate, we'll do something together. Interviews like podcasts, I do that a lot. I do it all day. Why? Because I have a personal mandate to serve audiences. Most leaders do, not all of them, right? So you might have to think about, what the leaders that you're trying to connect with want to do, and you need to help them. You need to give them what they truly want first, lead in generosity, and just trust the process. And if you're not willing to do that, then maybe you have to get your nose beat up, nose punched in a few more times, and then eventually get to a point where, okay, I guess I need to put other people's needs first before I am able to get more of what I want. So it's like what you want to do, right, is you want to give away something that's going to earn you proximity, and something that is remotely salesy. Good luck on that. That's tough today because most people know when they're being sold at, and they immediately will just do a U-turn and they'll walk their way right out of there. So you're gonna have to think about this long term. I'm also a big fan, Tim, of whether it comes to getting media coverage, media attention, or joint ventures, affiliate partners, attracting investors, working with influencers, which we have a lot of experience with, and then certainly client attraction. Giveaway stuff so valuable that it earns you proximity. Spend, and this is really key, spend and invest more time into fewer people. Quit trying to bastardize relationships. That's not how relationships work. Think of some of the meaningful relationships you have in your life right now. How much time have you invested into that relationship? Well, if it's really meaningful, you probably put some time in there. And you probably didn't need to rush it all. Like, you're willing to play the long game here. Yeah. It's a lot of the gurus, what they try to sell you is this stuff that you could just put everything on autopilot, and maybe that works in some circles, but it certainly doesn't when you're talking about ultimately selling a high ticket stuff. And finally, I'll just put this too, because I want to bust this myth too. Okay. There's a huge difference between a $20,000 client and a $200 client, or a $20 client, right? $20 clients are not the same as $20,000 clients. And so they're just completely different personas. So the hope of selling someone a $20 product because they're eventually going to become a $20,000 client, that is exceptionally rare. I mean, those numbers are so rare. I would not want to build my business model around that. $20 people are generally going to be $20 people for quite a while, right? $20,000 clients, well, they've already earned it. So you can't communicate to a $20,000 client the same way you talk to a $20 client. And there's nothing wrong with $20 clients. Savings Angel, it was a $20 a month membership. UpMyInfluence, it's more money. It ain't 20 bucks.
Yeah. Well, I'm a super hard sell. So, just all these things that you're talking about, it's what's inside my mind, right? And I think anybody else that hears this, they're probably a high level person in their organization as well. And so they're speaking the same language as you, and they're probably looking for, how do I get more, more of this, more of that? Yeah. I think you're speaking their language right now.
Yeah, listen. Lead gen is the easiest thing on the planet. Why? With today's tools and technology, anyone can put a list together of ideal client personas. It is just easy to do that. Where everybody fails is on execution, because it's like, I don't know what they're trying to do. It's like, I haven't done that. I've been married since 1995. So I missed the whole online dating thing. Yeah. But I imagine it's just like, well, I'm not going to worry about my dating profile. I'm just going to put an ugly picture on my profile, and I'm just going to swipe right on everybody. That's what most lead gen companies do. And again, there's some good ones out there. I'm not saying everyone's bad.
I've tried it once.
It's pretty crappy.
But I tried it once, and I don't think I'll ever do it again. But I have found different softwares and things to be helpful.
Oh, sure.
But putting the right messaging in there, you can't just sub in somebody, whatever it is, $500 a month, and we'll get you XX. No, you can't just sub in the next guy. You got to have somebody that cares, they understand sales cycle and what you're trying to accomplish.
Very important too. Oh, I'm so sorry, Tim. I feel like I interrupted you.
No, go ahead.
My enthusiasm got in the way.
Yeah, get it.
Okay, this is really important too. Who would say yes to that?
Yeah.
And now I have some serious questions about who's that bored in business or that desperate in business that some cold, generic, awfully written lead gen approach appeals to them? They go, hey, I got to tell you, you are starting to make sense. It's like, who's going to do that? Yeah. Like, I would seriously question, and I've gotten a lot of feedback. Again, a lot of our clients, again, excellent at what they do, and a lot of them have dabbled with different kind of lead gen tactics in the past, and they'll tell you the exact same thing. Like, the quality of the conversations that they do get, they're just like, people are coming in super skeptical, even if they do show up. A lot of times they're just no-showing those appointments. And then the people that you do have meaningful conversations, like, I talked with one gal that she's really good at what she does in public relations and, getting you on broadcast TV in New York and major market and national stuff. She said, I had so many people that just disrespected me and they were tire kickers. It was so hard. But over the last 6 months, I paid a lot of money for this lead gen company too. And I ended up getting 100 conversations. So I got no-showed 3 times as many of that times. But then, out of that 100, I had to talk to 98 people who just beat me up. Yeah. And they were just not the right fits. I felt so bad trying to sell them because they weren't qualified. They didn't have money. Yeah. And it's like, but out of that, I did sell 2, and it's like, would you do it again? She go, hell no. There's no way. Like, emotionally, that just sapped me. Showing up day after day after day and talking with people that don't really want to be there, that are skeptical of you, don't know who you are, don't care. Yeah. Right. Hey, listen, if you have the capacity to do that, I'm not going to try to convince you to do anything different. Yeah. I'm just saying that doesn't appeal to me. I cannot do that. Yeah. Like, I have to feel, for me, and again, just personality wise, like, every relationship matters. Not that I have something to offer everybody on the planet, but at least, like, I want to feel like we have a mutual respect for one another's time. Like, let's 1 + 1, let's create, co-create value together, however that looks. Maybe it's just me making introductions to you or giving you some great tips or whatever, but like, that's pretty important to me emotionally and spiritually for me to have that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, there's no point in wasting our time anymore, right? So meaningful relationships, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So you interview people. Let's say, who are some people that you'd really love to interview? And it could be somebody that's past, or it could be somebody that's here.
Yeah. Bring back Adrian, man. I never got to talk with him. And we could have a conversation about, today and how everybody has access to platform today and, just the effect of that. And and this is the thing, right? So some people feel like, well, I don't really have an audience, so there's really nothing I could do. No, you're incorrect. Everyone's got access to platform. Here's how easy. Let me give you an example of how this might look, right? So here, again, the name of the game is you want to lead in generosity to earn proximity. That proximity will lead to familiarity, right? If you could do this virtually, right? Let's say, I can go into detail, like, what's our time? When do we need to end this?
Do
we really have like a deadline in 3 minutes?
No, we've got 2 or 3 more questions. There's
okay.
No
okay, I'm good. I don't have a hard stop. I just wanted to check in with you on that. Okay, let me give you an example. And this is where I really had nothing to gain, right? But again, it's just like kind of like how I roll today. So I went to a conference. My wife's a speaker. It's like marriage and family therapy stuff, right? It has nothing to do with me. So, I'm there to support her, and it's a particular community that was interested. So while we're there, I'm just hanging out, right? She's busy doing stuff. I'm just over there with my laptop, just doing stuff, whatever, just killing time basically until it's her turn to speak, and I could be there to support her, run the camera, that sort of thing. So anyway, I'm like, hey, there's so-and-so. She's the founder of this whole event here. I'm like, well, I'm a member of this Facebook group where there's a lot of alignment there. And so what I did, is I said, well, I know how to go live in a group. I double checked, just to make sure I wasn't going to be violating any group rules or whatever like that. But I'm like, no, I'm going to bring value here. So I went up to her and I said, listen, we're both in this group. Would you mind if I just did a quick video live and we go live into this group? She goes, are you kidding? That would be amazing. Like, I don't think of this stuff for myself. And it's like, if you can give me the excuse to look good in front of this group, that's great. Now, this isn't my group. I'm not the moderator.
Right.
Again, I want to be sensitive to, group rules or whatever, but I'm like, no, all I'm going to do is like, I said, well, great. I wrote up just a quick little message there. I went live. And then I said, hey, I'm live with so-and-so right now, and we're on the ground at this event or whatever like that. And, and I just started asking her a couple of questions. Again, it had nothing. I am just the moderator. I'm just the interview. I'm just there to kind of do the thing. She's the star of the show. Right. And I'm going to work hard to make sure that she feels awesome. And if I can help her make connections, if I can do something good, how hard is this? Right. It is so ridiculously easy. Right. And this is really important, Tim. Most of us, unfortunately, use our platform for self-aggrandizement. And we're not using it to celebrate others. And that's a huge missed opportunity. Right. So even somebody else's platform. So I'm going live into this group. I'm like, she's telling us all about the event. I was like, well, hey, I said, we got some vendors here. Do you want to talk to, should we talk to any of them? She's like, yeah. So then we went to these other vendors that had booths and they're like, this is great. Like, I'm getting free PR here. And all I did was I just put like on this de facto press badge, and it's not even my group. It's not my audience. But I'm co-creating something with her and I'm making her the star of the show. I have nothing to gain here. Nothing to gain here, but I have everything to give. And if I can make the world a better place, how does this make me feel emotionally? Pretty good. Like, I enjoy it. Like, I'm into it. So it's a personality thing too. But then afterwards, you give generously. Here's what I found about leaders. True leaders will always reciprocate. If you go to those bro-y marketing conferences, not as much. I find a lot of that culture is a little bit competitive and petty and I'm not going to name names on which ones I'm talking about. I've gone to a couple and I'm like, I am not in the right room. I don't think I feel so weird, So, but hey, and again, if that's your thing, cool. I'm probably speaking Dutch to you right now. It's not adding up, and that's okay. It's okay. But afterwards, leaders will always reciprocate. Please trust me on that. All right. So here's what happened. I hit stop, and she goes, "That was awesome. Who are you again?" Yeah. And I didn't even, it's not like I'm like performing or anything. Like, I just basically, and listen, you don't have to have a larger than life personality to do this kind of stuff. Just show up and ask questions. Like, that's all you really have to do, and ask questions. They're going to make other people feel like what they do in the world matters. That's if you can give people the emotion and feelings of significance, you are unlocking, you are making people feel so great, and they are going to want to do something for you. So, so who are you again? What do you do? I was like, well, I don't, I'm just here to support my wife, and I don't know if you know. And so then it's like, well, she's like, well, let me talk. I was like, oh yeah. And then they started talking or whatever. Look, is it going to turn into anything? I don't know. Don't care. But it's like, that was my contribution. Yeah. That was my contribution in that moment. And definitely got, my wife on the radar of this, plan or whatever. But again, I'm not too worried about it. It's similarly like when you think about when I talk about tactically what we do, I'm using my podcast to network. Like, I'm serving an audience. So here's the idea here, right? If you could pull this off using platform, the idea is that you want to invite leaders to collaborate with you to create content and serve audiences. Why? Because they have a mandate to already do that. You do something awesome together, right? You really shine the light on them and you really make it about them, okay? And then afterwards, you say, that was great. Hey, let's go chat in the green room and see if there's something we should be doing. That's all I do. That is my job. And that's basically, if you boil down to the system that we've created for all of our clients, it's basically that. That's really what we're doing now. There's thousands of minutia points, there's little micro decisions that, can really kind of shape outcomes and stuff. But that's basically it, because that's what leaders do. Leaders network in the green room. Leaders network in the VIP lounge. Leaders network on the greens, on the golf course or whatever. That's where we get business done. Amateurs are doing business in the back alley, creeper DMs, constantly selling, constantly trying to do business, with these social media posts and selling their thing. And it's transparent. We all know what they're trying to do. Leaders don't have to do that. They don't have that pressure to do that because they naturally magnetically attract other leaders into their world. So their business is kind of taken care of.
Yeah, I mean, my whole life I've been helping to promote other people, and that's just been my nature. And then to go form this 7-figure recruitment and staffing business, it's all about promoting other people. Now in 2020, when things started getting crazy, right? I started this Ideation page to share helpful people and, give a more a better outlook instead of all this pessimism, all this negativity in the media. Is a place where you could go and see great speakers and the Tony Robbins, etc., the people that really helped me to become who I am in my character, a place to showcase them and share their message. And I think that's what you're speaking on there. Is promoting others, and that's what leaders do, right?
Yep. And to someone who, again, you're living like this, good news. You might be concerned that marketers are going to come in and bastardize generosity. Here's what I love about it. They're going to quit because the results don't come immediately. Exactly. And because of that, marketers get bored. And then they move on to something else, and they're always moving on to shiny objects. So right now you're seeing a lot of buzz around AI and ChatGPT. Wonderful tools, very powerful tools. You better be using it, but that's going to keep the toddlers in the room pretty busy. Yeah. And I share that, I know I'm being a little naughty here with my language, but it's going to keep the amateurs busy. Yeah. Meanwhile, the leaders are quietly, they're not getting involved in the noise. I don't need to be recognized on stage, giving me some big award or whatever. Right. Like I'm good. And it's really interesting. Like when you develop systems that attract, infinite supplies of amazing people that you want to do business with or network with or collaborate with. I appreciate speaking invites, but I'm not looking for it. I don't need it for business. Right. I'm not saying I won't do it, but it's really nice when you don't have to have the pressure of feeling like you have to be doing that stuff. And then you could do it because you want to, because you want to make an impact in the world, but you don't have to do it for business or just so you can make your payroll this month or something.
Very good. Now, if you ever write a book or another book, what will it be about?
Oh, what we've been talking about right here, kind of this leading in generosity. And, I'd certainly say, kind of breaking down. So we've developed a system. It's a podcast leader program. And so we, basically breaking down exactly how we do that and the minutia and everything. Leveraging generosity, platform, and authority. Authority is really important today. So what I mean by that, very simply, is if you do a Google search on me, I can tell you what you're going to find. I think Google will reward those who have consistently showed up and served. And those who are trying to shortcut the system, you're not smarter than Google. You're not. So... Yeah, I mean, you could use all the AI tools in the world, and it's going to work short term, probably, but you're not going to fool it. Like your genuine reputation usually will be reflected pretty accurately. So that's important because if we're thinking about how people buy, I can't tell you the number of customers who said, "Well, listen, I know some of your clients." Or I had someone talk about you like several months ago. You have a really good reputation. Like people speak very, very highly about you. That stuff matters today. If you shortchange somebody, you're not going to get away with it. Not today. Consumers are far too smart. And I put our viewer here, our listener, Tim, you and I, like we're savvy consumers today because we have all the tools in the world to kind of try to figure people out. Don't shortchange yourself by getting cheap and risky in that.
Yeah, I mean, in business, you get to some low spots, but if you can maintain your integrity and, for your
Yeah.
clients and just, no matter if you're taking a blow when you're down, you just show your clients the love and respect that you wish you were
Always.
receiving, then, you have that integrity and you don't get those negative reviews no matter what. And I've been blessed to be able to do business with my wife and help her in her retail business as well. And so, we just take those same things that I apply to the high ticket sales, and it goes to, even if we're just selling a shirt or a dress or whatever it may be. And hey, we're going to do that client right and make sure that it's done how they expected. And I think that, just doing that, even if you don't have any reviews, at least you don't have all those negative reviews there.
Right. But, and it's nice. I mean, obviously word of mouth is the gold standard for business.
Yeah.
And we hope that, you've done right by your clients and those that you've been able to engage with, so much so that they're willing to talk about you lovingly without compensation, without, bribery or whatever. That just,
Right.
you've gotten to that level in your relationship, and that is truly an honor, to be able to get like a warm referral, like, hey, I just got to talking with so and so, and they pointed out what you did for their company. And I mean, that's by the way,
been all of our
when
business.
you get calls like that,
Yeah.
we call those buying signals in sales.
That's been all of our business, so.
Yeah, for sure.
Any rate, so what's the best way for the audience to support your mission, get in contact?
Yeah, there's a couple things. First off, I anticipate, Tim, with your audience, that there's some really good leaders watching us right now. I am always looking for great podcast guests. I do a daily podcast. I need great leaders. Thought leaders, folks that have been doing what they're doing for a little bit of time. Like, you're at the level where your time is pretty valuable. Chances are we are going to have an amazing conversation. In my show, I try to make as many connections as possible. We've got over 100,000 on social. So we're going to promote hard and heavy. So if you want to be a guest on The Thoughtful Entrepreneur, someone that happens to be watching, or if you have someone that deserves to be recognized, please send them my way. It'd be my honor to celebrate them on The Thoughtful Entrepreneur. But you could just go to my website. It's www.UpMyInfluence.com. So UpMyInfluence.com, click on podcasts, and we are always taking guest recommendations or guest applications. Please. That'd help me out. Then number two is I teach this stuff for free. I give away what other people sell. And I've got a free class where I'll go into this. I'm not going to go into a sales pitch on you or whatever. Like, you're smart. You'll know what you want and need. If I can help you, great. You'll figure it out. But please do go to that same website, UpMyInfluence.com, and you're going to see a little button where you can watch. I'm going to break this down. So I'm basically giving you the equivalent of a free audiobook. I'm just going to show you some slides with it and stuff. And I'm going to break down step by step exactly what I've been talking about, and give you some really, really tactile advice. And again, that's just, you call it a webinar, free class, kind of a visual audiobook or whatever, but it's free. You could just go and you could watch that right now at my website, UpMyInfluence.com, and be my honor to have you there. And then, certainly if there's some opportunity, listen, I've got a network of thousands of podcasters. If I can help promote you out there, that'd be great. Always looking for great collaborations. If you're in business for yourself and you sell high ticket, you definitely should watch that class. And then you should probably book some time with me if you're pretty serious about business and you got some momentum there. I'll tell you, we're not cheap, but we don't take a client that we don't. I mean, basically, I only take winners. Winners in that I know what I can do and I know what my team's capability is. I'm not going to take you as a client if I don't think we can knock it out of the park. So just know that we have a lot of risk reversal and checks and balances that we put into when we work with folks. But that said, we're not a fit for everyone. And I'll tell you, number one is values alignment. And I have learned that over time. I'm going to look at how you communicate and what you communicate. And I probably could tell you in 5-10 minutes how successful we're going to be together. And a lot of it just has to come down to, are you relationship oriented? Do you like other people? Are you willing to put other people first? If you're not, it's probably not going to be a fit for us today. But if you are, then man, let me bring you to let me bring you to the Holy Land. Let me create a world for you where all you have to do is show up on Monday and you have all your appointments always all booked out for you in advance. People are delighted to see you. They already know you. They like you, and they're leaders. That's what the world can be like for you when you have these proper, when you have these systems in place and you're willing to lead with your heart in that way.
Very good. Just oozing value over here. I appreciate you, Josh, for showing up and sharing all this information with everyone. This is the worst part of the show, but we have to end it. So Josh has things he's got to go do. We're going to end the broadcast, and I'll see you here in a second. Hold on one moment.
After 40 people production.